Sharp Game here. Welcome to another episode coming at you from ChooseYourRelationships.com. Imagine being a white guy. What does it feel like being a white guy? Socially, politically? How does it feel walking around in society, functioning in society, in America, worldwide? Could you imagine what white guys go through on a daily basis or weekly basis? Could you imagine how the world sees them? How people flock to them? Imagine being a white guy. You can live where you want, where you want, how you want, when you want. As long as you got the money, contacts, and resources, no one's gonna say you can't live in this neighborhood because you're a non-white person. I mean, no one's gonna. You don't have to face obstacles that a lot of black people have. Some black people will call a real estate agent or the company and say, hey, I was looking at this house the other day on the corner of whatever street or block, and I would like I'm calling for an appointment to look at it inside. So they'll set the appointment up, and a couple days will go by, and the realtor or the real estate company will call them back, say that, hey, the house is sold. Or you might show up like some people I know, and they'll tell you the house is sold. But it didn't sell because a couple of months goes by, they find out the house still on the market. So white guys don't have to face those obstacles. I mean, a white guy can. When I say white guy, let's just get very clear. Now I know there's different status of white guys. You got some rich ones. You got some white guys that's okay, and you got some white guys that's poor, and you got some hillbillies. I understand this, but I'm talking average white guy. I'm talking, say, a white guy that might have went to the Ivy League college, or maybe he went in the military, or maybe he just worked a pretty decent job in his town, wherever he live at, or in his city. I'm not talking about a celebrity. I'm not talking about Tom Cruise. I'm not talking about anybody that you see on television. But the people that you see the white guys you see on television, they have that star power. They have that magnetic attraction. I'm not talking about those guys. I'm talking about people that's not on television. There's people that you don't even know. People that you work with. These are the people I'm talking about. If you work a job, these people that you work with. A white guy that you work with shouldn't say, hey, you know what? Forget this. I'm going to go to China and take a job. He can go over there and he'll have the star power. The Chinese woman will treat him like a celebrity just because he's white. And if he has blonde hair and blue eyes, my goodness, he'll have instant star power. And just because he's white. Now, if you're not white, or if you're non-white, and if you go to some place like China, And if you're a darker shade of person, forget about it. You're going to have to be talking a lot. And you might not even have a chance unless you're a lighter shade of black. But you probably have to do a lot more talking. See, the white guy that goes to China, he don't have to do no talking. They give him the benefit of the doubt just because he's white. And when they say American over there, or in any parts of Asia, really, for the most part, when they say American, especially in China, that means white. When they say they're looking for somebody that speaks English, that means white. So see, they get the benefit of the doubt. And there's so many double standards. There's no double standards when it comes to being a white guy. If he calls the cops, as soon as the cops show up, he gets the benefit of the doubt automatically without saying a word. So if he's a married guy and he calls the cop automatically gives him the benefit of the doubt regardless of what the woman says. I mean, as soon as he opens the door and the cop sees that he's a white guy, he gets the benefit of the doubt because of the double standards that's in this country. And that's really around the world. A lot of people don't want to talk about it. A lot of people get upset, and a lot of women, you have to understand a lot of women will flock to almost any guy that's attached to a group of people with the most resources. Or maybe the guy might be an athlete, or if he has that star power, or he has or he's being backed by a big corporation, maybe he's an athlete, or maybe he has a high paying job. Most women will flock to a guy like that automatically, right? But here's the deal. Most women will automatically flock to white guys regardless. They don't have to be an athlete all the time. They don't have to be an executive at a company. They can be just the average white guy walking around. But when it's my turn, all the rules change. I gotta have this type of income. I gotta have this type of job. I gotta live in a certain part of town. I gotta be affiliated with this group of people. See, white guys don't have to deal with stuff like that. There's no police brutality when it comes to white guys. White guys don't get beat up by cops. I mean, some white guys, a lot of white guys, if anybody gonna get beat, they're gonna do the beating. They're gonna, some white guys shoot at cops. Some white guys jump on cops. They get violent. But cops know better not to shoot young white boys in the back. That doesn't happen. And it's not because they're overqualified or qualified or well trained. No, they know not to do that because of the consequences that would happen. So, white guys don't have to deal with stuff like that. And there's a lot of stuff like for example, let's talk money, economics now, politics. And when white guys go to finance stuff like cars, houses, loans, they get the best rates for the most part. I mean, the, anybody that I know, that's the majority of people that I know with good credit, when they go to get a car, if they're going to finance, I mean, yeah, most people finance in America. Most people can't pay cash. But they don't get good interest rates. They get 17%, 25% interest rate on the loan. Most white people, they get the best interest rates. They get 6%, 8%, less than 10% in most cases that I know of. You know, if you're a little savvy, you know, some people go on there and say, hey, I want 5% interest rate on the loan. And when it comes to in mortgages, the same thing. You know, they get the best mortgage rates, best deals, best package deals. You know, it's like a couple years ago, probably like 7 years ago, I heard that I knew this white woman that lived in, well, I still know her, that lived in Charlotte, and she bought a 3,000 foot square house, and she couldn't afford it because she told me she couldn't afford it, and she didn't even have furniture to put in the house, and she was a nurse, LPN, working at the hospital, so she was working like a dog, like a slave, really, trying to afford everything, furniture and all the bills that came about in the house. And she was always hustling, trying to hustle guys on the side. You know, I wasn't one of them. I peeped the game early. But what happened is, I overheard her talking about how she got the house. Basically, it was like this. She said they kind of boost her income and made it seem like she could afford the house. That's how she got it. So I said, "Oh, okay, you know." But I don't know exactly how she did it. I don't even know exactly what that means when they say boost your income. But I know she told me, she said they made it seem like she made enough income to buy the house. So I said, "Oh, okay, no, that's nice." So then she told me that this type of thing was kind of common with people in Charlotte at the time, because a lot of people were buying houses. This is during a subprime period as well, where people were getting houses that they couldn't afford. But she didn't have she didn't get a subprime loan. She had a good deal. Only thing that happened with her, which was in her best interest, they just boosted her income. But they didn't give her no bad loan. The subprime loan was basically where you pay interest for the first 2 years, and after that, your payments is gonna be so high, and they'll basically take the 2 years of what you should have been paying anyway, and they combine the interest with 2 payments. So that's gonna boost your payments after the 2 years. So that's basically how the subprime loans work. But most white people I know, they didn't have to deal with nothing like that. They get the best deals, man. Plus, I mean, every time a white guy gets on a podium, or you might see him on television saying something, most people believe him. He gets the benefit of the doubt. No one questions anything. No one even challenges him on anything. You might be at work. I mean, like, this could be an afternoon speech, or during lunch, or it might be a trainer that come to your job. Everyone just assumes he's right. That doesn't happen with anybody else. Everyone else has to talk, or we have to. And with me, when I present my information, I have to have proof. I have to have proof up front. I don't get the benefit of the doubt in most cases. I mean, sometimes it happens, sometimes it don't. But in most cases, it doesn't. So I have to have proof up front, and I have to be thorough with my information when I present it, because I already know ahead of time that people are going to think that what I'm saying is not true. Because a lot of people are being conditioned to be that way. You have to understand. Just like a couple of weeks ago, a couple of weeks, I don't look at the NBA, basketball, but a couple of weeks ago, I heard after the game, I think Stephen Curry's wife said that she thought the game was rigged. And I noticed a lot of people on social media was saying that she was crazy, she's full of it, blah, 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 this and that. But if it was a white guy saying that, the networks would have jumped all over that story. And he would have got a benefit of the doubt. And they would have probably said, you know what, there might be something into that. You might have a point there. And I don't know what's so surprising about what she said, because this has happened in the past. Certain games, the ref came out and said he got paid off. This stuff happens. This is not like far-fetched. I mean, the ref actually came out and said it, and he disappeared. So, but the point I'm trying to make is, she didn't get the benefit of the doubt. If it was a white guy, he would have got the benefit of the doubt. And then, if socially, white guys, if they go out, maybe on their personal time, socializing, women flock to them. They don't really have to say very much. They get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to who they are as a person. Well, I mean, he could be a killer. But the woman, I don't know, maybe she don't care. I don't know. But now when it's my turn, she got to do a background check on me. She got to do a background check. She going to go on Google my name in the search engines, go to Facebook, see if I got an account there, or, that type of shit. Now, she won't do that to the white guy, because, if he's white, he's right. If he's white, he's good. Whatever. This is the type of stuff that people think about socially. And this stuff happens. And imagine wherever, if you're a white guy and you stay out, doesn't matter where you live at. You stay out in the burbs or in the city, they have this thing called redlining, where if you live in a certain part of the city, you're automatically qualified for like credit cards, loans, or whatever. You get them in the mail. I know, because I get them in the mail too all the time. But I don't take them. I don't want any loans, right? But white guys don't really have to go through that stuff, because they live mostly around whites all their lives. So they don't really have to put up with no redlining at all. If you're non-white, and if you don't notice, you're probably being disqualified because you're not in a side of town where they like giving credit cards and loans to people. And I didn't know this until I had bad credit. Like, this is like 15 years ago. And my attorney told me that depending on what part of town you live on, you will probably never be qualified for a credit card or loan, or you might have a very difficult time trying to finance anything, and you'll probably have a high ass interest rate. And even then, still, they probably still try to jerk you on the interest rate, regardless. But I didn't know this until my attorney told me this shit. But this stuff we gotta go through. White guys don't have to deal with this. And a lot of times, most of the time, a lot of white guys have things that have been passed down to them through their family tree, their lineage, family tree, from their grandparents, from their parents, that they don't tell anybody about. They don't talk about it either. They make it seem like they bootstrap everything. They didn't have any help. But I was in the military, and my supervisor at the time told me that damn near every white person have a safety blanket. And that safety blanket is probably going to be the grandparents or the grandfather. So when they really screwed up something, or they really need some help, or maybe they lost a job, or maybe something tragic happened, or maybe they don't have any way to turn, the person that they probably going to reach out to is probably going to be the grandfather, because the grandfather probably done some dirt back in the past. So if he can't do it, he probably did a favor for somebody in the past. So that person said, hey, maybe that, I need that favor because, my grandson ain't doing too well. So every white person has a safety blanket. Now, most black people don't have no safety blanket because nothing was passed down to us. It was taken from us, stolen. And that's why we're in the position that we're in today, because nothing is being passed down. They just, parents just say, hey, just graduate, go to college, and maybe you get a good job and live happily ever after. And it just doesn't happen like that, because you can't pass a job down to your kids. That doesn't work. You got to pass down something tangible, something that they can use as a tool, as a stepping stone. Because if you have to start from scratch, it's going to be a long, tough road. You're probably going to struggle. The average white guy, he might not have he might not have the red carpet rolled out for him, but he don't got to start from scratch. They don't got to start from scratch. I mean, there's always going to be somebody that's going to reach out if you need some help. Or maybe he might know somebody. Because most white people are well connected. They know people. Because you have to think about it. The system that we live in was created by white guys for white guys. Now, if you're a white guy, listen to this, you might say, well, the system wasn't created for me because I'm not doing so well. Well, you know what? Maybe somebody messed up in your family tree. Maybe someone made mistakes that made it difficult for you today. But even still then, you can still bounce back in a couple of months. And you can do whatever you want much faster than a person like me. It's going to take me, regardless of what I do in my life, it's going to take me months, maybe years. And I have to be consistent. I have to be always working on it, always getting better. I have to be relentless. Now, you, on the other hand, the white guy, he can do what I want to do in a couple of months, or a year, 2 years. It might take me 5 years, 10 years. You see what I'm saying? So everything is much smoother for a white guy because he has a lot of support. He has a support system. I don't have any support system. I gotta talk. I gotta reach out to people. If I don't reach out to anybody, the chances of anybody showing up is slim to none. I might have like 2 or 3 people reach out, but that's based on who I am as a person and what I have to say. But the average white guy, people automatically reach out. I mean, it comes together like Voltron. Like, people reach out like it works like magic. I've seen it happen so many times where a white guy comes in the environment, people just come together and things seem effortless. But I tried to do the same thing and people weren't that motivated. I had to talk more. I still did the same thing, but it took me longer. That's my point. So I have to have more patience, and I have to be diligent, and I had to be relentless, and I had to be consistent. And I had to get it started first before people would jump on. Now, if a white guy comes in, he has his support system from day one in most cases. But me, I got to get it started first, then people will jump in. You see the difference? Now, you might be asking, why am I talking about this? What's this got to do with you and me? The reason why I bring this to your attention is because first you have to be aware that this exists in society that we live in. And second, you have to know that you can do the same thing, a lot of the same things that white guys do. It's just going to take you longer, and you have to be consistent, and you have to be relentless, and you have to build your support. You have to always be building. Always be building. ABB. Always be building. And then people will flock towards you. And regardless of where you go in the world, wherever you go on a vacation, certain places, women might flock to you, but it's dependent on who you are and what you're talking about. But average white guy, he can go to almost anywhere. Women are flock to him, giving him the benefit of the doubt. However, that doesn't necessarily mean they like him or have interest in him. What it is they like what's behind him, the resources, the benefits. But they might like you as a person. You see the difference? So you gotta, kind of gotta get in. You gotta pick your position. Would you rather be liked or you rather be tolerated? Personally, I'd rather be liked in an environment. If I have to be tolerated, I don't really like that. I want out if that's the case. So if you like what you heard, check out my channel, subscribe to my channel, check out my blog, chooseyourrelationships.com. Until next time, Sharp Game is out. Peace.